McNamara looking. Intercepted. Bradley. Ball game. The Spartans said they were tougher. The Spartans said they would flinch. And they did.
Yo, what's up? Avian here. And today we're going to talk about my rankings this week, and we're going to talk about the upsets that happened. I'm also going to talk about a couple of my predictions that I had in the video before. And yeah, without further ado, boys, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, now here's my top 25 for this week. And number 1, we got Georgia. Georgia ended up playing Florida this weekend. They won that game 34-7. Now this game was very close at the beginning. It was 3-0 and it was about to be halftime. And Florida, costly turnovers, man. They gave it up, and I think Georgia scored 3 touchdowns, so it was 24-0 at halftime. Then they scored 10 more in the second half, and Florida got a touchdown. But yeah, they didn't do anything good on offense this entire game. Florida was anemic. Richardson did not do his thing. He was very scared, didn't know what he was doing. And I know Florida fans, they just wanted Richardson to play, but Emory Jones should have started this game, in my opinion, because he's a freshman and he's going up against the best defense in the country. I don't know what Dan Mullen was doing this game, but yeah, Georgia rolls, they win. And in number 2, we got Ohio State. Ohio State played Penn State. That was the night game this week, and they actually won that game 33-24. It was a very competitive game the whole way out until the very end. Ohio State's defense finally hunkered down and they stopped Penn State a few times. They also caused an interception by Clifford that really changed the momentum in this game. And Ohio State, they tried to go for it on 4th down a few times and they didn't convert, which they could have scored on both those drives. But they always want to go for it on 4th down because they're confident in their offense, I believe. But yeah, Penn State actually played very, very well in this game. Their offense wasn't that bad. They were able to exploit some of the zone coverages, and they ran the ball pretty poorly, to be honest, but that passing game was really good. Ohio State, their running game didn't get going other than a few big runs by Travion Henderson. Their passing game was okay. They didn't look like the same team, but Penn State, I also believe, has the best defense in the Big Ten. So it's not a surprise that they only scored 33 points. They did have 400 some yards, I believe. And another thing I want to say, Penn State was not the 20th best team in the country. They're definitely still a top 10 team. They just looked forward from that Illinois game. They did not take Illinois seriously, and that's why they lost, because they were looking forward to Ohio State. So in my mind, Ohio State did beat a top 10 team, which is good for their resume, even though that they were put where they were because of the Illinois thing. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. We got the Cincinnati Bearcats at number 3. They played Tulane. They won this game 31-12. Now, they didn't look that good in this game, to be honest. I really fought with putting them at number 4 and putting MSU at number 3. But I think since Cincinnati is undefeated, and they did pull away a little bit at the end, I kept them at that 3rd spot. And then getting into Michigan State, this is the biggest game of the week in my mind, them playing Michigan. Michigan State won this game 37-33. They ran the ball all over Michigan. They ran it all over. Kenneth Walker is legit. He is a big deal, and he is the reason that this team is as good as they are, because without him, I don't even think they'll be ranked. I really don't. Their quarterback isn't that good. Their run defense is good, but their secondary isn't that good at all. It is what it is, but I think Kenneth Walker runs that team, and he does a great job at getting in space, and he just knows how to make plays, and that's why they are where they are. Then next, I got Alabama at number 5. They didn't play this weekend, but yeah, the Crimson Tide, I have them sitting at 5. They're probably going to rise in the rankings after the next couple weeks, but we'll see. And then number 6, I have Oklahoma. Oklahoma State's put. They did play Texas Tech this weekend. They won that game 52-21. They look good in this game. Caleb Williams looked really good in this game. He threw 6 touchdowns, and even Spencer Rattler came in, threw a touchdown. So Oklahoma finally having a decent week, even though it is Texas Tech. I think they lost their head coach. They're just not playing well. Oklahoma, kudos to them for that win. Then after Oklahoma, we have the Oregon Ducks. They actually played Colorado. They won that game 52-29. They look pretty good in this game, especially early. Colorado did score a few times in the 4th quarter and in the 2nd quarter to make it look a little bit closer. Colorado really doesn't have a good offense, so I don't know. I think Oregon's defense should have played better than they did, but their offense showed out, scoring 52 points. And then after them, we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they played North Carolina this weekend. They won that game 44-34. They look pretty good. They look pretty efficient. Jack Cohen looked pretty good in this game. Kyron Williams actually went off in this game. He had 200 rushing yards, and the Irish honestly look really good on offense. But North Carolina doesn't really have a defense. They just have a decent offense. So I kind of expected this much, and they showed that Notre Dame can actually play offense. But yeah, after them, I have Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State played Kansas. They won that game 55-3. You know, that is how they're supposed to win those games. And yes, I'm taking jabs at Oklahoma because they only beat them 35-23 and got shut out at half, which is still unacceptable. And Caleb Williams was playing in that game. So yeah. And guys, I promise I do not hate Oklahoma. I'm just very critical of them because they're always in close games and they're playing down to their opponents like crazy. So yeah, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, Wake Forest is next. Finally breached the top 10. They won their game 45-7 against Duke. They looked pretty good in this game. Their offense did very well. I'm pretty sure their quarterback threw 3 touchdowns. So good on Wake Forest. They're the best team in the ACC for right now. And then after them, I have the Texas A&M Aggies at the 11th spot. They didn't play this weekend, but they do have a big game coming up. I'm pretty sure that they play Auburn, and that game's going to be very interesting. But after Texas A&M, at the 12th spot, I have Baylor. Baylor played Texas. They won that game 31-24. They were actually down early in this game, and they came back at the end. Bohannon looked decent in this game. He threw 2 interceptions, but he did make up for it for getting them the win. Baylor's defense is for real. They play very good defense, and I'm excited to see them play Oklahoma after that bye week. And then after them, I have Auburn. Auburn played Ole Miss, which I'll get to Ole Miss in a second as well. Auburn won their game against Ole Miss 31-20. Now this game kind of had me going for a second because Auburn won this game by double digits, but they fumbled the ball 3 times. They lost it 3 times. And I know Matt Corral threw an interception. He also got hurt in this game. I still think they should have gotten a lot closer than they did, or they should have scored more, but I guess Auburn's defense played good enough and they got the win. Now, after Auburn, I have the Michigan Wolverines. They played Michigan State. They lost this game. They were winning the entire time and they let it up at the end in normal Michigan fashion. They just can't beat Michigan State or even Ohio State for that matter. Jim Harbaugh, this might be his last year or maybe next year. Who knows? If they win out, if they beat Ohio State and they end up in the playoff or something at the end of the year, which I highly doubt, then maybe he'll keep his job. But I don't think he is going to. He shouldn't. He cannot beat his rivals. And if you can't beat your rivals, you should not be coaching at Michigan. Period. And after Michigan, I got Ole Miss. We just talked about Ole Miss. Matt Corral got hurt. They played good on offense. For the most part, they got a lot of yards, but they could not come up with any points, which is sad. Auburn's defense held them, even though they turned the ball over 3 times. And it is what it is. They're at my 15th spot. Then at the 16th spot, a game that was honestly very enjoyable, especially on offense. I have the Houston Cougars at rank 16. Clayton Tune, man, this guy is insane. He threw 4 touchdowns, 412 yards in this game. Houston is very underrated. They are a great team, and they're gonna move up in the rankings. I had them in my last rankings, even though the AP poll didn't. I saw that they were a good team, and I knew that they were rising. And I knew this was going to be a good game, and I kind of saw Houston winning, and they did. They beat SMU. They played very well, especially at the end of the game, and they ran back that touchdown, 102 yards from the end zone to end zone. Great plays, and that's why I got them at the 16th spot. Then after Houston, I have the University of Texas San Antonio. The Roadrunners, they did not play this weekend, but they're going to play next week. They're going to play UTEP. UTEP is a decent team, so they're going to have their first test in a little while, and I do expect them to win. But I got them at 16th spot. 17, I have Kentucky. Now, I should have put Kentucky lower, but I still feel like they're a good team. And then we had a lot of teams lose around that 9-14 mark. So it was just hard to really mix all that around because they looked awful against Mississippi State. Levis threw 3 interceptions. This Kentucky defense that everyone was talking about let Will Rogers, the Mississippi State quarterback, throw 36 for 39 for 344 yards. He only threw for 1 touchdown, but that completion percentage is absolutely insane. 36 for 39. Good shit, Mississippi State. And then after that, we have BYU. I have BYU at the 19th spot. They won their game 66-49 against Virginia. Again, another game with no defense to be found. Virginia has a great offense. BYU obviously has a great offense, but these defenses, they just they're not playing, guys. They're just not playing. Tyler Algier for BYU ran for 266 yards in this game, and Jarrett Hall, he threw for 349 with 3 touchdowns. Brennan Armstrong for Virginia threw 337 yards, 4 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions as well. But I think those interceptions and their turnovers are probably what cost Virginia this game. But that's why I have BYU where they're at. And then after BYU, I have Iowa. I have Iowa at the 20th spot. They lost, again, second game in a row. They lost to Wisconsin. Again, their offense looked horrible. They only scored 7 points like they scored against Purdue. They have 14 points combined in their last 2 games, and that is atrocious. Their defense did not play as well in this game. Wisconsin has an awful offense. They don't know how to move the ball down the field. Graham Mertz, again, he's not a good quarterback. They ran decent in this game, but it was the turnovers for Iowa. So many turnovers, and this is why they lost. And they lost this game by 20 points, which means in their last 2 games, they've been outscored 51-14. May I remind you guys, this was the 2nd ranked team in the nation a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. They're usually the ones that cause the turnovers, and Iowa's defense has been playing great causing those turnovers, but not in this game. Then at the 21st spot, we have the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. They beat Troy 35-28 on Thursday. They looked okay in this game. They should have beat Troy by more, to be honest. I really didn't want to move them up, but because of how this week played out, I had to. They're actually not that bad of a team, but they're not that good. But moving on, we have SMU. SMU at 22. They lost. Like I said before, I know that the AP had them at 19, but I had SMU higher, and I moved them back just because they lost that game off that touchdown at the end, which that's more of a luck thing to me than it is skill. So that's why I didn't move them back too far. And then after them, we got Fresno State. Fresno State played San Diego State, and they won that game 30-20. They actually didn't look that bad in this game either. They played good on offense. They played good defense. San Diego State had a lot of yards, but they didn't have that many points. And that's why we're going to welcome the Fresno State Bulldogs back in the top 25. And then after them, we have a couple teams that lost this week. I got Pitt at 24. They lost to Miami. Pickett, he looked good in this game other than the few mistakes that he had that really cost them this game. Miami obviously isn't that good of a team. Pittsburgh, I still think that they're decent, and I still think that they're going to have a really good run. Rounding out the top 25, this is very controversial, but I have Penn State. Even though this is their 3rd loss in a row, I have Penn State still in the top 25. They played Ohio State very well, and they gave them their best shot, and that's probably the best shot that any team is going to give Ohio State this year. Maybe other than Michigan State. Michigan State might put up a better fight. That's about it. They're a top 25 team, and I think that they should stay at 25 just because that Illinois game really didn't, hold that much weight. It was kind of like the Iowa game with Purdue after that crazy win that they had over Penn State, which they only won by 3. So that's why I have Penn State at 25. Don't crucify me in the comments. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the video, guys. I hope to see you in the next one. We're going to talk about the college football playoff and the first committee ranking that they come out with, and we're going to critique and give our opinion about what they got wrong, what they got right, and how this committee going to rank everything, how they are. Are they going to care about the eye test? Are they going to care about, who teams play more? It just depends. Every committee is different. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.